Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do the very final chapter of the wonderful Through a Misted Glass book by Dr. David Marsh. This one is almost like a second bonus chapter, one final one that showcases resources that people can do or use if they believe that they have curses. So really good stuff. Again, it's an amazing book. Highly recommend that you have if you have a chance to read it. I'll include the link for it below. Plus, I made that playlist dedicated to all of the other chapters as well. And that way, if you wanted to check those out, be sure to look at the playlist and you can run them through all at once. But in this case, chapter 12 is the final one. I promise you, it's the final one from the book itself. And Dr. David Marsh, he titled it as Resources for People Who Believe They Suffer from Curses. It's a relatively short chapter, but still a pretty important one. And so let's go ahead and let's share it here, and then I'll give my own thoughts and opinions on it afterward. So here's what he stated. I am often asked, how does someone who believes they are cursed gets the curse removed? I have never claimed to know how to remove a curse, but we have learned a thing or two about finding the best, most genuine, and effective person to remove a curse. And as a man of science, I must acknowledge that if something works to restore health, whether I believe in it or not, it must be considered. Here are some things experience has taught us about curse removals. Number one, the cure needs to address the disease. So to wit, your choice of practitioner to remove the curse must be someone who has actual knowledge of that type of curse. Curses are caused by different things using different principles, so the person removing the curse must understand these factors. There is no one-size-fits-all curse removal. If you don't believe the removal is as viable as the curse, you're wasting your time. Number two, the best, most genuine, and effective practitioners do not charge or ask for money in any way. This doesn't mean you cannot offer something as a tribute, but these practitioners do this because they believe in right and wrong, not profit margin. They will honestly tell you if they are the best for this job, and they will not claim they have a solution to any curse. Number three, real practitioners do not have ads in the tabloids, nor do they have pay-for services, websites, 900 numbers, or post services on social networking sites. They work by word of mouth. There are those that can be found on the internet, but be prepared to wade through thousands of scams to find one real person who can help. And then number four, real, knowledgeable practitioners see you face to face. They do not remove curses by phone, Skype, snail mail, or email. Most, if not all people, suffer psychological, emotional, and sometimes physical trauma as a result of their curse experience. This is a serious and lasting issue despite the curse having been lifted, and one is that is outside the scope of the curse lifter. Stress, PTSD, sleep disorders, eating disorders, all of which can lead to physical illnesses, as well as a sense of alienation and isolation and withdrawal from friends, family, and society, are just a few of the effects associated with curses. People often say, I feel tremendous stress due to my curse experience, but I don't know whom to ask for help or how. Here are a few things when choosing a medical and mental health professional. Number one, if they do not possess a valid degree and license, they are not who you want. Number two, talk with them in general terms. Learn how open they are to the idea of mental suggestion before you choose. Relate only the symptoms and leave the curses out of it until you are comfortable with the therapist. And number three, few people can afford the cost of therapy, so it is a good idea to make your financial situation clear before diving into your post-curse trauma. I have long been an advocate of support groups. Curse victim and survivor groups are virtually unheard of, yet in the course of studying curses, we found that such groups are particularly useful in helping people to cope, share information, and find closure. It would be a wonderful thing for those who have learned coping mechanisms and have knowledge of resources concerning curses to form such groups. Sometimes the best therapy is through sharing with those who have similar experiences. Until such resources develop, I will offer what support I can. Contact me at david.marsh@gmx.us. There are support groups that help with other paranormal experiences, and you may inquire of them if you may join if you cannot find one close to cursed survivors. Groups, both live and internet-based, come and go, and as of this writing, I have found none that would be relevant to a supernatural event. However, there are groups for many forms of psychological trauma where you may find some support, which is better than none. And then that's it. That's everything that Dr. David Marsh finally mentions in his final chapter there, chapter 12 of Through a Mystic Glass. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. Again, relatively short chapter, right? Here he pretty much just sums up the resources that people have whenever it comes to dealing with curses. I like how he makes it very real world. He gets pretty much straight to the point, and it's pretty frank in some cases. Like he says, there are various curses, so there should be various practitioners to help remove each individual curse. There is no, as he put it, one-size-fits-all curse removal. And if anyone claims as such, if someone says that they know how to do all curses, then he says, be cautious. You could be wasting your time. And I think the most important one is this. He states that the most effective ones, the most genuine ones, don't charge any money or ask for many money. Now, there may be a little bit of controversy on that because it makes you wonder, well, how do people survive? If someone has a service, then how are they able to get by if essentially they do it for free? It's kind of like a gray area. He leaves it open at the end where if you want to give something as a tribute, then that would be a good idea. But otherwise, I think what he's trying to get people away from is obviously the ones, as he put it, that are more interested in a profit margin, the fake ones, in other words, the ones that, as he stated in another chapter, charge tens of thousands of dollars sometimes because they actually prey upon people's idea of removal of curses when in actuality they weren't doing anything on there. So maybe in his case, he's stating that if someone is not asking for money, there's a chance they're more genuine associated with it. That leads to the next thing too. Obviously, anything involving internet services, pay services like 900 numbers, if those are even still around, stuff on social networking sites and so on. He states it's word of mouth. I think there's more of a gray area on this too, because obviously in today's day and age, anyone that is effective at what they do, they essentially can do it well. Like in other words, word of mouth does work, but otherwise you basically have to get your foot out there. There's so much noise, quote unquote, out there that if in order to make sure that the right people find you, you have to make sure that you have some presence. It's going to sound weird, but if someone is genuine about curse removals, they may need an Instagram, they may need a Facebook site, or maybe even a regular website, something like that, so that way people can find out about it in the first place. But it does lead to the next argument that yes, it is in person, which I agree on that part. How do you remove something by email, right? It's not like opening the email will essentially do it. It just makes more sense in a real world applicable manner that yes, somebody is going to remove it and it's going to be in person for it. Interesting stuff. So at least with regards to his analysis, it's definitely something where it's more practical, and as long as it's more practical, it makes more sense. He even leaves the chapter off with almost like a different avenue, a different note, stating that if you want more other real-world applications like a therapist, to go in, but don't mention to them that initially up front that you think you have a curse. Instead, go along the angles of it being more like a mental illness, some kind of item where you need help, like in other words for therapy purposes, not something involving curses per se, but instead it's something else there when it comes to coping with some kind of, as he put it, stress, PTSD, sleep disorder, physical illnesses, eating disorders, and so on. That way, that kind of stuff can be dealt with, but you may also be able to mix in on the psychological level this type of idea of having a curse, and then see where the therapist goes from there. Interesting stuff. Lots of real world applications when it comes to this final chapter. But if anybody has any more info, anything else I might have missed, please post those comments below. And there we go. That is adieu. Good day. Parting is such sweet sorrow. All good things must come to an end when it comes to the Through a Misted Glass. I hope y'all enjoyed this playlist. I definitely enjoyed it, making it as well. Some of you have already commented about me trying to find another book to look at. I'll take a look. I'll see if I can. The main problem is how to get permission for it. I'm not sure. Like, if it's more free domain stuff, maybe. But if it's not, like open domain stuff, then I'm not sure. I'll have to figure it out. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.